Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for once again tuning into African Reform Channel, where we speak about everything with regards to African politics. I'm your host, Uche Noka, and our distinguished guest is Dr. Nii Darko, who is a genius when it comes to African politics. He knows his stuff. He has mined very deep, and I've been thinking about things over the last 20 or so years, probably even more. So he has a lot of wisdom to offer. So you're in for a treat today. Right, we're going to be continuing with God's Own Government, Part 2, we picked up from on Wednesday. And Dr. Nii is going to be talking to us even further about this whole principle of how God wants to govern a nation and how a nation can be governed correctly. You can follow Dr. Nii on his social media. There are all his handles there. You're currently on the African Reform Movement YouTube channel. So please subscribe and like this particular interview. Also want to ask you to send all of your questions regarding this episode into the chat function so that we can answer them. How we're going to do it today is, because this is quite a weighty subject, I'm going to leave Dr. Nii to explain it. And then as you're listening, any questions you have, please send them in. And after Dr. Nii has finished his presentation, I will then go through the questions as much as time will allow. Okay? So welcome, Dr. Nii. And over to you. So.
Come again?
I said over to you, and so please enlighten us. Continue with your discourse on God's own government.
Oh, okay, all right. Thank you very much. So today we are on Afrimocracy, God's Own System of Government, Part 2. Some of my viewers may not be here last Wednesday to watch Part 1, but basically, central to statehood is constitutional design.
Right.
And that is exactly what Jethro told Moses when he met him in the wilderness, where he was behaving like one-man government. He sat down and the whole nation surrounded him and was giving judgment and rulings by himself from morning to evening. And Jethro advised that, no, you cannot do that. It's not sustainable. You kill yourself and you kill these people. Let me teach you how to do it. And that's where, and then he did not only say, he said, look, I'll advise you. And after I've advised you, take it to your God and let him endorse or disendorse my advice. The Bible says that Moses took everything the father-in-law said. So it means that Moses took the advice to God and God approved of it. And that's why I'm saying that Afrimocracy is God's own system of government. Now, Jethro, the father-in-law of Moses, was an African. He was a black man. He was a Midianite. Okay, so that's where the whole discussion started from. But after Jethro, we've had other African systems. And today, as we talk about these, we'll see some of these systems in what I have devised. First slide, please.
Okay. Let me just get onto that. Okay. Can you see that?
So now over here, over here, we are going to discuss economic federalism. Now, economic federalism, which I have shortened as ECOFED. Now, I fashioned this from 3 of Jethro's advice to Moses. 1, Jethro advised Moses that he should form subnational entities based on numbers, fixed numbers, population, and not ethnicity. He told Moses to appoint leaders over thousands, over hundreds, over 50s, and over 10s, not according to the tribe of Judah or the tribe of Levi or the tribe of Bartholomew or the tribe of Joseph or the tribe. No, he asked him to do so according to numbers. That's one principle. The second principle is that he must also have governance at levels below him so that they will share the burden with him. And that's the only way he can be his government can be sustainable. So then he advised that you should have state governments. And then he also advised that the government at this level, they will do the core business, the small issues, and they will bring the very, very difficult ones to him. So then we also have core services to be the main function of state governments. Next slide, please. So now, under economic federalism, under ECOFED, we come to the structure and core functions of the ECOFED states. So now we are saying that we are going to have states of thousands, but our thousands here is 8 to 10% of the population. And each state will have 5 districts. So it means that each district will be 1.6 to 2% of the population. And then each district will have 5 constituencies. So it means that each constituency will be 0.3 to 0.4% of the population. Now, this is fixed across the whole country. Not in the situation like in the last elections, where one constituency had 180,000 electorates, another one had 118,000 electorates. You're going to have fair representation. Now,
across the board, yeah.
The second thing is that then we have state government under ECOFED. Now, the state government will have a parliament of 31 members and a state executive committee or cabinet of a premier and 6 commissioners. And also, we'll have a district executive committee of 6 MPs. Now, it will take a long time to explain all these things, but I'll just briefly touch on them. You realize that on the first slide, I said something like help a heat. Help a heat. Help
do you
a
want to go back to the slide?
Yes. Help a heat, which represents the core services, is the acronym for health, education, law and order, power and water, agriculture and industries, housing, infrastructure, and transport. These are the very, very fundamental services that every community needs. Can we go back to the second slide, please? So I've written them here. We have regions, districts, constituencies based on fixed number of people. And then we have state government, which is made up of members of parliament, 31. And then state executive committee of a premier and 6 commissioners, and district executive committee of 6 MPs. Now, these things that I'm discussing with you, they are all in my 2 books, Afromocracy and the Fifth Republic. And to have a full understanding of this thing without taking so much time, you must try and lay your hands on these books. And I'm sure Uche will direct you where you can find the books in Ghana.
I will do. Once you finish your presentation, I'll show people where these books can be purchased.
Okay, all right. So can we go to the third slide?
Yeah. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay.
So now, the third slide refers to some benefits and funding of ECOFED. People want to know, how would that work to the benefit? How would that be different from what you have now? Very, very different. No basis for comparison. Now, first principle is that the state government are going to share the burden with national government. Okay? Because we have realized that all over the world, services are local. Policies are general, services are local. So it's going to share the burden with national government. Secondly, it becomes an arrangement that allows every group to have a say in their own government. And thereby reducing the sense of marginalization among minority ethnic groups. Thirdly, it fixes the winner takes all cancer. You see, in Australia, which is also federal, 5 of the 8 state governments are from the opposition party at the national level. And the national government, the party that controls the national government, controls only 3 state governments. Now, when it happens like that, you realize that we have what you call building of capacity. Because we are getting people from 2 different angles to govern the country in different ways at different levels. And more also, it also fixes the whole idea of politics being a matter of life and death. The life and death matter of our political culture is what brings all this issue of rigging and violence, because everybody knows that to have a say in government, you must be in power. Your party must be in power. If you're in opposition, you have nothing. You need to get 49.9%.
Yeah.
We know that is wrong. We know that is absolutely wrong. We must be able to have a system that allows opposition to also have say in government, especially in areas that they win the elections.
Okay.
That's not, but again, it becomes a training center for future national leaders to get executive experience, because once you are a minister or a commissioner at the state level or a premier at the state level, you are an executive member of government, and therefore at that level you learn a lot that you can transfer one time into national leadership or into leadership at the national level. One example is Modi in India. He was the premier, or what they call them, chief minister for Punjabi or something like that, and he was able to transform that province, and that shot him up into national leadership. It happens in other areas too. Now, by that very nature of the federal state, it allows multi-city development. It allows because each state has got its own funds to develop its capital. At the moment, almost everything comes to Accra. But we have to have an arrangement or funding arrangement that takes the money from Accra to other regional or state capitals. And by so doing, we develop all these states like you have in Australia, Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, Perth. They are holding Olympic Games. They are hosting Commonwealth Games. In any of these can host anything, because the nature of the federal system is allows multi-city development. The nature of the unity state is actually a major challenge to multi-city development. That's what you have seen in Ghana for 64 years. Every other city has collapsed. Everything is in Accra. I mean, between Accra and Tema, 2 cities in Greater Accra is 62% of our GDP. This is just crazy. Okay. Not only that, but it also gives space. We are able to correct interstate development deficits properly. Now, I can go into this a bit further, but let's just take it for that now. It allows proper management of interstate. For instance, if you have 3 million people in Accra, and you have 1,000 beds of tertiary hospital, 1,000 beds, and we have another 3 million people in Brong-Ahafo, but there they have only 500. They know that there's a deficit of 500 between Accra and Brong-Ahafo. Because with the same number of people, they must have the same health facilities. So you can actually manage and correct these developmental deficits a lot better under this situation. As it is now, they bring everybody to Accra, so it doesn't ring bells to people that there's a problem with the system. And of course, with that, there's spread of opportunities outside Accra. Because when you make Accra equals to Ghana, all the opportunities will be where that artificial Ghana is. Once you spread, and Koforidua becomes like Accra, and Ho becomes like Accra, and Tamale becomes like Accra, you realize that people will not troop to Accra looking for opportunity because they have the opportunities right on their doorstep. Like they say, if Mohammed doesn't move to the if the mountain doesn't move to Mohammed, Mohammed will move to the mountain. At this point in time, we have only one mountain, and that mountain is stationed in Accra. So everybody is moving to where? Accra, where the mountain is. Now, once you're able to disperse the mountain to where the people live, you realize that they are not going to come to Accra because it is just not sustainable. 66.4% of Ghanaians, when they leave their homes, they come to Accra. And that is actually destroying Accra, while at the same time destroying those places too. So, eco-federalism will fix this problem. Then, of course, strengthening of specialization of production. That's very simple. States will start recognizing their strength in the production process. They will recognize that, oh, this place are more suited for this. So even in my universities, we are going to actually focus on this type of agriculture because that's what we are doing here. Or we are going to do more of animal husbandry because that's what we do here. We specialize in that. Or we are going to do crop farming or whatever because that's what we do here. It allows specialization, and then you have centers of excellence because of specialization.
Got it.
Now, these are some of the benefits. Funding is going to be through two main agencies. One is VAT. We are going to distribute VAT per population. So if the VAT is 10 billion and every state is 1 million, then every state will get the same amount of money. If one state is 1 million, another state is 2 million, then the 2 million will get double what the 1 million gets. Now, the simple reason is this. We all know that our country is not equally endowed with natural resources. So we have to have a system that will try and equalize the input. And we believe that, or I believe that, if we use that, of course, you know that the way the economy runs, probably 80% of VAT will be collected from Accra and Kumasi. But you're not going to give the 80% to Accra and Kumasi. We'll collect all the VAT and we'll share according to population of the state so that everybody will have a good starting point. And then secondly, we're going to have the sliding scale retention of income tax. As we are talking now, all income tax comes to Accra. Okay, and they do what they want to do with it. But we're going to have a system where the most advanced regions, Accra and Kumasi, they are going to retain only 25% of the income tax. And the four poorest regions, the North, the Upper East and West, and Volta, they are going to keep 50%. The government will keep 50% of the income tax it collects. And the in-between states will keep 37.5%. So that on top of the VAT that will be distributed, we also top this up. But we'll do it in such a way that the weaker states retain more than the stronger states to try and create a bit of fairness. Okay. Now, next slide. So, in short, we've spoken about EcoFed, the structure, benefit, and the core source of funding. There are things in EcoFed I didn't talk about, but you can get all those details in the books that I showed you earlier on. Because if you're going to talk about all of them, I cannot discuss a book in 30 minutes. Okay, so these are the key points of the news that I'm talking about: how to manage local government. How to manage local government. I mentioned district executive committees. Now you realize that under EcoFed, each district will have 5 constituencies. So it means that each district will have 5 MPs in the state parliament. Okay, yeah. Each district will have 5 MPs in the state parliament. But then that will mean that the state parliament will be 25, but I'm saying the state parliament will be going to be 31. There will be 6 other MPs that will be voted through, not universal adult suffrage. At the moment, the president appoints 30% of district assembly members. He appoints. We are taking that power from the president. Now, in each state, you're going to have state traditional authority. And the state traditional authority will advertise these positions for MPs, because you see, there are some technocrats who will not want to do the real politics, but their skills will be needed in the state parliament. So the state traditional authorities, they will advertise and they will set up selection criteria of those who can apply for the MPship through the state traditional authority, and then they'll be voted on there. And then they will come and represent the state traditional authorities in parliament. They are not chiefs, but they'll come and represent the state traditional authorities and then certain skills will be required of them. It's not anybody who will just go, because there will be a whole selection criteria, and those who fit the criteria will go, they'll be vetted, and they'll be voted for in the state traditional authority. Now, so there will be 6 more, and these 6 more will be distributed across the 5 constituencies of the 5 districts, so that each district will then have 6 MPs. Now, these 6 MPs, they will form the district executive committee. You have to understand that these 6 MPs may come from different political parties. But then what we are talking about is, how do we design a political system that will help our own development and prosperity, and try and take away the tension of oppositional politics or adversarial politics. We are trying to form unity government at every level. Okay. The state, the district executive committee, also there will be spokesperson there for health, for education, for the 6 core services. So the spokesperson there is the one who will be in charge of service delivery in the district. So in a way, we have merged the district assembly or the district executive system with that of the state. The elected MPs are the same people who will be the executive at the district, and the one they will choose to lead them will be the district mayor. Now, as we have now, the mayor is appointed by the president. That will never be the case again. Okay, the mayor will have to be an elected member of parliament at the state level, but then in his district, he's the one who will lead his colleagues to deliver the service. Now, let me say it clearly. The state system has 3 levels. The state level, which is the political level, the district level, which is the service level, and the constitutional level, which is the electoral level. Okay? So this is in brief what the ECOFAS system is like. Now, let's move to national executive. Now, when you're talking of national executive, you're talking of the government as we know it now. And this is what I have done based on my experience in Ghana and other places. I have decided to develop 2 overlapping committees. One is Higher Executive Committee, or the Inner Cabinet, and the other one is the General Cabinet. The Higher Cabinet, the Higher or the Inner Cabinet is a policy formulation committee. It's made up of the president as head, prime minister, and 5 senior ministers. We'll come to understand this shortly.
Okay, I was going to ask what was the difference between the president and the prime minister. Okay, I'll wait for you to.
Okay, so the president, this is what we call split executive. This is a split executive system. The president is the head of state and commander-in-chief. The prime minister is the head of government. Okay. So there are 2 different. Now what we have the combined, that the president is both the head of state and head of government. In England, you have a prime minister who is head of government and the ceremonial head of state who is the queen.
Okay. That's what I'm saying.
All right. Okay. Now in France, they have a split executive system there, where there's a president and there's a prime minister. The president doesn't have to be in parliament, but the prime minister is a member of parliament and head of government. Okay. That's the fact. So what I'm talking about is similar to that of France, but it's again different. We will see shortly.
Okay.
Now, then we have the General Executive Committee, which is the Policy Implementation Committee. Now, for those of us in Ghana or those in my generation, they will know what I'm talking about, because that's how actually Rawlings fashioned his government. He had a PNDC as a council, and they had a committee of secretaries. Now, he was the chairman of the PNDC. But previous being, his prime minister was the chairman of committee of secretaries. So the Committee of Secretaries is what is here, that the General Executive Committee. Now, the PNDC Council, the council itself made the policies. And PV Obey himself was also a member of the council. So initially was called coordinating secretary. He was coordinating secretary, he was the liaison between the council and the Committee of Secretaries. Then later on, he was changed to become chairman of the Committee of Secretaries, which effectively was the Prime Minister. And was an executive Prime Minister. Okay, so that's the split. I've changed a little bit, but the spirit is from there. And that's why I'm saying that, yes, Jethro did all the great things at that time, but since then, other things have also evolved in Africa that we can also learn from. Okay, so now we have two overlapping committees. The High Executive Committee, the Inner Cabinet for Policy Formulation, and the General Cabinet for Policy Implementation. Now, the General Cabinet is headed by the Prime Minister. Okay, so the Prime Minister reports to the President at their meetings in the Inner Cabinet. In Australia, we don't have the Inner Cabinet. What we have here is called the Security Cabinet, which is about 5 members of Parliament, 5 members of the Cabinet, but they form that kind of Inner Cabinet, very much like Jesus Christ also had with Peter, James, and John. It's Inner Cabinet, the Outer Cabinet. Okay, so this is something that operates at different levels in different places, but I've just made it this way for our purposes. Next slide, please. Good. So now we have a new ministerial system, features of the new ministerial system, and also the structure. We are going to have a total of 25 sector ministers. Now, these 25 ministries have been regrouped, in terms of their functions and their portfolios into 5 super ministries. So that you realize that this super ministry, in each super ministry, the sector ministers there or the sector ministries there are very closely linked in terms of their portfolios. When it's like that, there are other benefits, but let's go on. So we have 5 super ministries that will be headed, each will be headed by a senior minister. That's why we have 5 senior ministers. Okay, 25 ministries regrouped into 5 or 5, and each super ministry will be headed by a senior minister. There will be no deputy ministers.
Okay.
Now, ministers in each super ministry may cross-deputize for each other. For instance, our finance minister was unwell during the time for the budget release. And then there was a confusion as to who to deputize for him or who to do the job. One they said it's going to be this, it's going to be that. Then it has to be parliamentary speaker, what they call majority in parliament or something. No, under this system, the finance minister will be in the economy, super ministry. And as you will see below, I'll go through. Now, when he's not there, one of the other 4 ministers will deputize for him and read the budget. And because of that function, go ahead.
So would it be the ministers within that economic ministry that would deputize for him?
Yeah, there are 5 ministers within that super ministry. I'll come to the super ministries in a minute. There are 5 ministers in that super ministry, or for that matter, for any super ministry. Now, if one member of that super ministry is not available, another member, one of the remaining 4, will act in his absence. Because they plan their budget, they do everything they say to streamline and to reduce duplication of functions. That's an effective system of doing things. Okay. Now, executive power remains in the executive. We have an absurd scenario in Ghana where if the president is not there, the vice is not there, then the speaker of parliament acts as the executive head of the country. But he's not a member of the executive. He's a member of the legislature. And in most instances, he's not even elected. Sometimes the president appoints the speaker of parliament. Okay, that's absurd. If we are talking about executive power, it must mean executive. Now, with this system, if the president is not there, the prime minister will be acting. If the prime minister is not there, one of the senior ministers will be acting. There are 5 of them, so we can never run out of all the 5.
Okay.
Executive power must remain in the executive. Now, the executive will be completely separate from the legislature. No MP can double as a minister. Now, this structure allows effective planning and avoids duplication of work, because you see the way I've arranged the super ministries, and you understand what I'm saying. Now, below is the 5 super ministries and their sector ministries. One, the economy. So we have the treasury. Economy, we have the treasury, which is what you call in Ghana today, finance minister. Then we have the digital economy, small business, and deregulation. Okay, there's a minister for that. Digital economy, because we have to digitalize our economy. Digital economy, small business, and deregulation. There is so much blue tape in Ghana. We have to have a system to reduce blue tape and to allow proper functioning of the system. I know my time is going, don't worry. Then we have work,
Okay.
and then we have workplace relations, we have diaspora affairs, we have population and resource allocation. Then we also come to natural resources. We have environment and mining, agri industries, oil and energy, infrastructure development, and science and tech. You have all those. You come to law and order. We have attorney general, defense, police and home security, chieftaincy and citizenship, and justice and constitutional affairs. Then you have international relations, foreign, ECOWAS and the regions, public admin and state protocol, transport and communication, trade and tourism. Then we have social services, health, education, senior citizens, mental health, special education, housing and water, sports, arts and culture. So this is basically the structure of the new ministerial system. 5 super ministries with 25 sector ministers. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the interesting part that I would like to talk about before we allow people to ask their questions. Construction of the national executive. How are we going to make it that it sounds fair and proportional? 3 principles of JETRO are employed: government of national unity, proportional representation, and fairness. The president is elected. The prime minister is appointed by the president, and all ministers are appointed by the president. But I will explain here in a minute. Now, in appointing the ministers and the prime minister, it is not a power entirely vested in the president, but there's a formula that I believe we should use to make sure that this thing is fair. The 80-20 split formula is used to achieve the above goals stated above. The goals stated above. 80% of ministers, that is 20 of the 25, are shared among parties and regions proportionately. And 20%, that is 5, is exclusively for the president to appoint. Party distribution. It means that because you have 20 positions for parties to share, it means that any party that polls 5% of the vote gets 1 ministerial position. So if a party polls 40%, then the party gets 8 ministerial positions. All right. So if the president party gets 55, what happens is that party gets 11 out of the 20, and the president adds his 5 to it, so they become 16. So the president party gets 16 of the positions in the cabinet of 25, and the remaining 9 will go to the other parties according to how much they also polled. Then regional distribution. Also, what it means is that even for the parties to appoint their ministers, they have to use the regional ratios, so that if a region gets 5% of the electorate, that region gets 1 minister. If a region gets 10%, so if we use the 10%, and that all regions are 10% of the population, then it means each region will get at least 2 ministers from the 20. Do you understand? All right. So 5% of the population gives 1. So if you are 10, you get 2. So yes. So in the end, the 20 positions are shared fairly equally across the regions. And then the president, of course, he has 5. The 5 he has, he has to bear in mind that he's going to give all the 5 he has to his own region. He has to come, but then this arrangement is what I call the sports-like arrangement. You see, in sports, it doesn't matter how fast Usain Bolt runs, he doesn't get the gold, the silver, and the bronze.
Right.
He gets the gold,
he gets one.
somebody gets the silver, another person gets the bronze. Now, they all stand on the podium and they all laugh, they all clap. And that's the way, that's how we have to design our politics. That you want the majority of votes, okay? So, yes, we'll give you 5 extra, ask for your gold. But as for the 5, the remaining 20, you share with the other people so that those who get 10% will also have 2, they'll also be the bronze, they'll get 2. And the one who get 40% will also get what? 8. They will all sit down together. We eliminate a national opposition. We have a common agenda as a nation to build and to prosper. And that is the last slide. The last slide, I think that's the benefits of the new executive construction. 1, it destroys winner takes all. 2, it destroys all die be die. 3, it augments national cohesion. 4, it encourages or it destroys ethno-regional marginalization. 4, enhances consensus building. 5, it may obviate the need for second round of elections. Because what it means is that if one party gets 45% and didn't get the 50%, another party got 40%, then they have to form a coalition. There is no need. The one with 45 will become president. Later, the 40 will become the prime minister. So there is no need to waste money for second round of elections when the people have spoken in a reasonable way that this is the person, this is our number 1 and this is our number 2. And what that means is that it will make every vote count, because you know that if you vote and your party gets 10%, your party will also get 2 seats. So every vote counts. As it is now, if one party gets 50.1, the party takes everything in the country. Whether they can do it or not, it doesn't matter. They take everything, just 50.1. Okay, so it means that the vote of the 49.9 is useless. But with this, every vote counts. And that gives a better representation of the mandate of the people. If somebody gets 45% and is made a prime minister, it is reasonable. 45% of them want him to lead. So if he's given a silver medal to be prime minister and the one who got 51% has been given a gold medal to be president, it is fair, it is morally appropriate. Of course, and with that arrangement, we can have a common national agenda for development. It's not like this party comes, starts this, he goes, another party comes, abandons it and goes because they have to re-award contracts to their own cronies. Now, they are all there. We plan, this is where we want to be in 20 years' time. So this is what you're going to do. Whether this party is there or not, because it's a common plan. We are all in the government. Okay. And of course, with this, we abolish adversarial politics completely. Now, we can talk about these things for another 2-3 hours, but we've gone almost 38, 39 minutes, way beyond our limit. So now I'll leave the stage for those who have questions to ask before we fold up.
Okay, thank you for that, Dr. Nii. That was brilliant, the way you laid that out. Before I get the questions up, just to the books that Dr. Nii mentioned, all of them can be purchased at booknook.store/book-Nii-Amu-Darko/. So all of the books that he's mentioned in this particular episode can be purchased there. Okay, let's leave it up there for a second. Okay. Right, there's one question or statement here. It says from Charles Akurugu, demarcation of states/districts. to be based on population. Population density varies across the country, and I want to find out if there would be any spatial considerations, ease of administration.
No, there will be no special consideration. Let me put it this way. Population differs across the country, and that's the reason why we have to decide that what percentage should form a state. So 8% is the minimum, 10% is the maximum. Now, when you have 8% or 10% in any place, that becomes a state. Space is not part of governance because services are provided for human beings. Mandate is obtained from human beings. So if 10% gives their mandate to a person, it doesn't matter the space on which that 10% lives. So to make it very simple, look, the Ghana we have today, personally, the new 6 regions Akufo-Addo has created, I don't even know them as a matter of fact, but I don't believe they exist. Okay, it's a complete waste of everybody's time. What we are going to do, we know the populations across Ghana already. We are going to have 2 city-states because those 2 city-states have already made the 8%. They've already made the 8% threshold. Accra is going to be a city-state like you have in Berlin, or you have in Moscow, or you have in other places in the world. Kumasi is going to be a city-state. Okay, you don't know this place. You don't know Kumasi. Accra is going to be a city-state because it's already made the 8. In fact, it's about 10% of the population. Kumasi is about 9% of the population. So those will be 2 city-states. So as we are speaking now, Ashanti region will have 2 states, and Greater Accra will have 2 states. All the other regions, with the exception of Upper East and Upper West, meet the 8 to 10% threshold. Upper East and Upper West, they actually form about 7%. So what's going to happen is that over there, we are not going to have a state with 3% of the population. It's completely against the economy of scale. So in the 3 northern regions, in the 3 northern regions, we're going to have 2 states there. Whether we bring back Upper East and Upper West as Western, as Upper region, or what I call Upper Savannah, and we take part of Northern region to make it 8%, and Northern region becomes Lower Savannah or whatever. But the principle is that we're going to have 2 states, 2 powerful states in the North, because the North actually has 17% of our population. Okay, the North has 70% of our population, so we're going to have 17%. We are going to have 2 states in the North, and that shouldn't be a problem. In my electorate, okay, in my electorate in Australia, my electorate is the size of the whole Northern region, with only 1 MP because of the population. My electorate, Mali, M-A-L-L-E in Australia, is I think the 2nd largest electorate in Australia, but it got to meet the 150,000 population threshold. So they kept expanding until they got that number of people. So Mali electorate in Australia, in Victoria, is the size of the whole of the North. In Ghana, 1. So no special consideration.
Okay, we'll just take one more last question, Dr. Nii. See if I can show it to you. It's from Sika Awuno. And she says, how do the weaker states that have low economic activity sustain themselves financially under the federal system that you describe?
Well, that's what I said. The funding will come from 2 major sources. One is the VAT. The weaker states will have the same VAT money per population as the stronger states. Okay. So if a weaker state has got 2 million people and the stronger state has got 2 million people, they will get the same VAT money. Because we know that most of the VAT is collected from the stronger states, but we won't allow them to keep it. Today, all the VAT money is spent in Accra. So we take the VAT money, and share. And that's why it's very important that all the population should be similar. So that when you are sharing the money, it becomes very simple. You're all 3 million, get it? The same amount. Then secondly, to help the weaker states, as we speak today, all income tax is brought to Accra, okay? And government does whatever it likes with it. What you're saying is that the states will not retain part of the income tax. And the weaker states will retain 50% of the income tax they collect, while the stronger states will retain only 25% because they are strong. And then the middle in-between state will retain 37.5%. So I've tried to cover this business of weaker economy, but nobody should determine to remain weak. That is not a good way of looking at life. There is no basis for any part of Ghana to be weak. No basis. There is absolutely no reason. It's because government neglects. Because Ghana officials are very comfortable sitting in Accra and enjoying in Accra. Even those from the weaker states, when they get government position, they come to Accra, they even forget where they come from. That's why they are weak. Otherwise, why should there be a weak place in Ghana? We have 75% arable land. We have river water running through. They say that the Egypt is the Nile and Nile is the Egypt. That water now defines the economy of Egypt. How come the Volta region that has the Volta River is one of the four weakest regions? So there is no be, and this arrangement is not forever. It will be there for only 20 years. After 20 years, everybody will retain only 25%. Nobody should aim at being weak. And ECOFED will make the difference, because what's going to happen is that at the Council of State level, that'll be another discussion for next time. Then we'll see how the Council of State will be structured to take care of the developmental defects, so that everybody will have enough to sustain the region, because we're going to have close the gap funds. Okay, we're going to have close the gap funds, and that will come from taxes from petroleum, whatever. That will be there to close the gap between the infrastructure gap between the strong states and the weaker states. And then we're going to have another economic plan completely that we're going to have. Anyway, I will talk about that. If I will talk about this, it's not going to end. But basically, we are taking care of the weaker states for 20 years. For 20 years. That they should not remain weak forever. There's no basis for that. In the north, which is one of the weakest areas, we have share butter there. In 20 years, it should have the same prominence in the economy as cocoa. Nothing stops them from doing that. Nothing stops them from doing that. So there we go. Thanks very much for your questions and your everything. I'm very pleased that we're speaking about this. Next time, we're going to talk about the National Legislature and Council of State. And you see how Jethro is that powerful. Now, yeah, I think we'll talk about those two at that time. So thank you very much, Uche. Wow.
No
it's
problem.
Not so fast. 8 minutes now.
I know. See, the time just goes because it's such a rich subject. There's just so much that, to unpack. Charles, I've seen your question, but as we really are out of time, we're well over time. So
just read Charles' question to me, please.
Okay, all right. Then I'll let you see Charles' question. Okay,
he's a very good friend, a very smart guy.
Okay, here's Charles' question. It says, currently, the district's chief executive is both the political and administrative head of the district assembly. What's your take on that in relation to Afromocracy?
Perfect. You see, in Afromocracy, the district structure will be very different. The district structure is going to be an integral part of the state structure. Now, every district will have 6 MPs. Every district will have 6 MPs. These 6 MPs, they will be the spokesperson for health, for the core services, health, education, law and order, power and water, agri industries, and then the 6th one is housing, infrastructure, and transport. What it means is, and then among the 6 of them, they will choose one of them to be their leader. Then he becomes the mayor. So then he becomes the chief district executive. Mind you, in my presentation, I said we're going to have state executive committee, who is a cabinet for the state, and we're going to have district executive committee. So the mayor becomes the chairperson of the district executive committee, made up of himself and his other 5 MPs. Now, it's a long story because under this, we're going to have district health committee, district education committee, district and other committee, and these committees will be headed by these MPs, respective MPs, and then they will, for instance, the district health committee, you're going to have the district chief medical officer, the district senior medical officer, the district nurse, the district pharmacy will form that health committee to deliver health to the people. Okay, so it's not just the district executive committee will be the executive committee running the district, but each of these core services will have its own district committees for health, for education, for agriculture, for water and electricity, and they will be filled by people from the community members, the district education officer, district whatever. They will be filling their respective district committees, and they will deliver the service. Mind you, the district is the service center. So the position of what you are saying now, is both the political, it's going to be completely different, because this person is going to be an MP elected by people from that district. I hope I'm clear.
Okay, Charles, I hope that answers your question. But once again, thank you so much to all of you for participating. Thank you for all your questions. We really do appreciate it. Just to let you know that we are online 12 o'clock Wednesday and Saturday. So please make a note of that in your diaries and plan to be there with us, where Dr. Nii will be unpacking this even further on different elements with regards to African politics, but with a specific concentration on Ghana. Well, once again, thank you very much. I will make sure that the link to his book and all his handles are posted on the YouTube channel, so you can go back there if you missed it as I put it on the screen. Don't forget to like and subscribe to his YouTube channel. Subscribe to all of his other handles as well, and you can contact him that way. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. And Dr. Nii, as ever, thank you for your wisdom and your insights concerning the government of Ghana.
Thank you very much, Uche. You are the best.
Thank you. We'll see you again Wednesday at 12 o'clock. Thank you. Bye-bye.